Johnson is absent. Melton. Palermo is absent. Rowe. Bagley. Harding. Mr. President.
Please rise for the pledge and remarks by Councilmember Johnson. Councilmember Johnson here in a minute. She wants to come down for the invocation.
Well, everyone, I'm going to keep this brief. The birds are chirping. It's really sunny outside. I'm going to still take our Rocky. It's a beautiful day.
An affidavit of publication is on file for the pre-council and city council meeting, and a current copy of the Open Meeting Act is posted in a white binder on the east wall of legislative chambers.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the Omaha City Council. We appreciate having you here today. We look forward to hearing from you on our many items. I would encourage you to turn your cell phones off or at least to vibrate. I would also add, I don't think we have any other presentations or proclamations today, but I did want to note that this weekend is Cinco de Mayo. And the City Council has adopted a proclamation, or signed a proclamation today, that I'll read Friday to a group getting together at the Benson Theater. And then, of course, celebrations about Cinco de Mayo happen throughout the community, but especially next weekend with the huge Cinco de Mayo parade on Saturday, May 13th. So we look forward to participating in that as well. Madam Clerk.
Item 6, to consider a Class I liquor license for Hoo Hot Mongolian Grill located at 990 South 72nd Street.
Public hearing and vote on number 6 is today. Proponents, please. Do we have a representative of Hoo Hot Grill here? Do we have time on the application?
Yes.
There is time on the application, and I will note that we did receive one correspondence of concern. Mr. Bagley, do you want to address the issue at all?
Not at this time. We need to lay this over then? Okay, make a motion to lay this over for the next meeting.
Motion and a second to lay over 1 week for the applicant to appear. Roll call.
Johnson.
Yes.
Melton.
Yes.
Rowe.
Yes.
Bagley.
Aye.
Harding. Mr. President.
Yes.
Motion passed 6-0. Item 7, to consider a Class I liquor license for El Torogos Restaurant located at 9539 Q Street.
Public hearing and vote on number 7 is today. Proponents, please. Proponent?
I don't know if they're here today. But I would just like to say, since Vinny isn't here, that I think it's awesome that we have, Rebecca Barrientos Patlin, 3305 E Street. I think it's awesome that we have a new business popping up, and I congratulate them. Thank you.
Thank you. Is the applicant here? Oh, please come down. Yes. Name and address, please.
Jennifer Villanueva, 9539 Q Street, Omaha.
Thank you. And just here to answer questions.
I don't have any questions. We are a new restaurant, and
You're here to answer our questions.
Oh,
if
yep,
we
yep,
have them,
yes,
right?
I am.
All
Yes,
right.
I am.
Thank you. Thanks for being here. Are there any other proponents that want to speak today? Seeing none, any opponents? Public hearing is closed. Mr. Rowe, you're recognized.
I did call Zanya yesterday
Yes.
and talked to her about the application, and so I wasn't familiar with the new restaurant, and it sounds exciting. Salvadoran
Yes.
cuisine.
Salvadoran, Puerto Rican, and Colombian.
Okay, so some choices. I'd like to move approval of this application.
There's a motion and a second. Roll call.
Johnson.
Yes.
Melton.
Yes.
Rowe.
Yes.
Bagley.
Aye.
Harding.
Yes.
Mr. President.
Yes.
Motion passed 6-0.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Item 8, to consider a special designated liquor license for Chevy's located at 2607 North Main Street for Chevy Fest on June 9th from 6 p.m. to midnight with music until midnight.
Public hearing and vote on number 8 is today. Proponents, please.
Hello, Council. Jeremy Edelman, 2607 North Main Street, Elkhorn, Nebraska. Here to answer any of your questions.
Thank you. Any other proponents today? Seeing none, any opponents? Public hearing is closed. Motion and a second. Roll call.
Johnson.
Yes.
Melton.
Yes.
Rowe.
Yes.
Bagley. Harding. Mr. President.
Yes.
Thank you
Motion
very
passed
much.
6-0. Items 9 through 13 can be considered together for Enclave Flats, Replat 1, located northeast of 189th and 4th Streets. Planning Board and Planning Department recommend approval. Items 9 and 10, ordinances to rezone this property from DR District and R4 District to DR District and R4 District. Items 11 and 12, resolutions to approve the preliminary plat and final plat. Item 13, a resolution to approve the subdivision agreement.
Public hearing and vote on items 9 through 13 are today. Proponents, please.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the council. Larry Jobin, 11440 West Center Road, appearing on behalf of the developer. I'm here to answer any questions you might have regarding this development. It's just a replat of the existing plat that is out there at 188th and 4th Street.
Thank you. Any other proponents? Seeing none, any opponents?
Good afternoon, Councilman. Omaha, Nebraska. Donnie Johnson, the Johnson Equestrian Foundation, North Omaha Concerned Citizen Foundation, and 4928 North 52nd Street. I think Mr. Larry here is doing a wonderful job, but I would like for you to take this in consideration. The unicameral is going to finally get their act together, and we're going to pass medical marijuana. So could you set aside some land
Donnie,
for
that's got to
that?
be about 189th and 4th.
Yeah, all this development in this whole area from, what is it, 7 through 13, and there's a number 14 also. We need to set aside some land for when the unicameral get their act together down at Lincoln.
All right. Thank you. Any other opponents today? Seeing none, public hearing's closed. Is motion a second to approve? Roll call.
Johnson. Melton. Rowe. Bagley. Harding. Mr. President.
Yes.
Motion passed 6-0. Items 14 through 19 can be considered together for The Hill, located northeast of 168th and State Streets. Planning Board and Planning Department recommend approval. Items 14 through 16, ordinances to rezone this property from AG District to DR District, R6 District, and MU District. Item 17, an ordinance to approve a mixed-use district development agreement. Item 18, a resolution to approve the final plat. Item 19, a resolution to approve the subdivision agreement.
Public hearing and vote on items 14 through 19 are today. Proponents, please.
Yes, Mr. President, members of the council, Larry Jobin, 11440 West Center Road, appearing on behalf of the developer. Again, this is the phase 3 of the Hill subdivision and development. Simply here to answer any questions that you might have regarding this proposed final plat.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other proponents today? Seeing none, any opponents? Now, Donnie, it's got to be about 168th and State Streets, okay?
I've been out there spending a lot of time, Mr. President.
Well, it's got to be on topic.
Yeah, I've seen the whole area. Name and address and all that stuff?
Mhm.
Okay. Donnie R. Johnson, Johnson Equestrian Foundation, North Omaha Concerned Citizen Foundation. Now, did the development, you can stay on the subject? Should we continue?
It's got to be what the development at 168th and State Street.
My argument against this is that all this development, where jobs coming from? You got a lot of development, but where's the jobs going to pay for all this stuff in the future? We just set aside some land in case the unicameral get their act together.
All right.
Okay.
That's it. Any other opponents today? See none, public hearing's closed. Motion a second to approve. Roll call.
Johnson. Melton. Rowe. Bagley. Harding. Mr. President.
Yes.
Motion passed 6-0. Items 20 through 22 can be considered together for property located at 1107 and 1113 Nicholas Street and 1001 North 12th Street. Planning Board and Planning Department recommend approval. Item 20, an ordinance to rezone this property from HI District to CBD District. Item 21, an ordinance to amend the boundaries of the NCE Overlay District to incorporate this property into that district. Item 22, an ordinance to rescind the ACI 1 Overlay District for a portion of this property.
Public hearing and vote on items 20 through 22 are today. Proponents, please.
Terry Morrison with Earhart Griffin and Associates, 3552 Farnham Street. I'm here on behalf of the owner to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any other proponents?
Jay Klein, 10404 Essex Court, here on behalf of the developer and here to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any other proponents today? Seeing none, any opponents?
Address and all that stuff? Okay. Donnie R. Johnson, Johnson Equestrian Foundation, North Omaha Concerned Citizen Foundation, 4958, or excuse me, 4928 North 52nd Street, Omaha, Nebraska. Let's go back to this. This might be very helpful to you, Mr. President. I'll stay on subject, and so you understand. 1974, 1976, I added up last night. That's 50 years to 2024. That's how long I've been coming to the city council. So I know what I'm doing, okay?
Any other opponents today? Seeing none, public hearing's closed. Motion and a second. Roll call.
Johnson. Melton. Rowe. Bagley. Harding. Mr. President.
Yes.
Motion passed 6-0. Item 23, a resolution to approve a special use permit to allow development in the ED Overlay District located at 10409 North 72nd Street. Planning Board and Planning Department recommend approval.
Public hearing and vote on number 23 is today. Proponents, please.
Kent Rasmussen, 4666 South 132nd Street, representing McNeil Company. Here for any questions.
Thank you. Any other proponents? Seeing none, any opponents? Public hearing is closed. Ms. Johnson, you're recognized.
Motion to approve. Great job.
Second.
Motion and a second. Roll call.
Johnson.
Yes.
Melton. Rowe.
Yes.
Bagley.
Aye.
Harding.
Yes.
Mr. President.
Yes.
Motion passed 6-0. Consent agenda. Any member of the city council may cause any item placed on the consent agenda to be removed. Items removed from the consent agenda shall be taken up by the city council immediately following the consent agenda in the order in which they were removed unless otherwise provided by the city council rules of order.
Public hearings on agenda items 24 through 37 were held on April 25th. We do have one light. Mr. Harding, you're recognized.
I just need clarification. Do we need 5 votes on 34?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so should we carve that out or not, or just, no?
There's no need.
Okay, move to approve.
There's a motion to approve items 24 through 37 in a second. Roll call. Roll call.
Johnson. Melton. Rowe. Bagley. Harding. Mr. President.
Yes.
Motion passed 6-0.
The public hearings on agenda items 38 through 50 are today. If you wish to address the city council regarding these items, please come to the microphone, indicate the agenda item number you wish to address, identify yourself by name, address, and who you represent. And if you are a proponent or an opponent, for council members' knowledge, we do have the applicants available by Zoom for number 38 and 39 through 41. Are there any testifiers on 38 through 50?
Larry Storr, 5015 Lafayette Avenue, Omaha, 68132. I'm against all of them. You might call me out of order, but I don't like the way that you allow Donnie Johnson to get up and oppose everything just to get your blood running a little
like
bit.
yourself, he has the right to do that.
And you interrupt him.
If you may notice, I
You
shut
let
him
him
down.
talk from the audience. You
And right
do
now,
not
you're
me.
not on point.
You've ordered me
Keep
out
on
of
point to
order and
38
out of the building a number of times for less.
Keep it on point to 38 through 50. All right, thank you. Any other proponents or opponents to 38 through 50? And Donnie, this has got to be on topic or else I don't want you to come up, okay?
I was gonna try to see if I can figure things out. Well, let's do it this way. When Governor Thorne sent me to West Africa, he didn't put me through this much.
Any other testifiers on 38 through 50? Seeing none, public hearings are closed. Motion and a second, roll call.
Johnson. Melton. Rowe. Bagley. Harding. Mr. President.
Yes.
Motion passed 6-0. Item 51, an ordinance to amend section 23-177 of the Omaha Municipal Code by adding the employment classification entitled Grounds Maintenance Technician. Personnel Board recommends approval. B is amendment of the whole requested by the Law Department.
The vote on number 51 is today. I'll note for council members, there's an amendment of the whole. There's a motion and a second. No further lights. Roll call.
Johnson. Melton. Rowe. Bagley. Harding. Mr. President.
Yes.
Motion passed 6-0. Item 52, an ordinance to approve an agreement with Douglas County in the amount of $130,795 and to authorize funding from the fiscal year 2022 prosecuting cold cases using DNA program.
The public hearing on number 52 is today. Proponents, please. Seeing none, any opponents?
Is this the part I tell about Senator Zorinsky sending me?
Public hearing's closed. Next item.
Item 53, an ordinance to approve an agreement with the University of Nebraska at Omaha in the amount of $585,274 and to authorize funding from the fiscal year 2022 Community-Based Violence Intervention and Prevention Initiative Grant.
Public hearing on number 53 is today. Proponents, please. Seeing none, any opponents? It's got to be on topic, Donnie.
I was going to mention about Senator Dave Karn sent me that.
Nope, it's got to be on topic to number 53.
Oh, sorry.
Any other opponents today? Public hearing's closed.
Item 54, an ordinance to approve an interlocal agreement with the City of South Sioux City, Nebraska for the City of Omaha to administer portions of South Sioux City's Property Assessed Clean Energy Program.
Public hearing on number 54 is today. Proponents, please. Seeing none, any opponents? Public hearing's closed.
Item 55, a hearing to determine whether Vinnie Palermo shall be permitted to serve the remainder of his term as Vice President of the Omaha City Council.
Thank you. The vote on number 55 is today. This is not a public hearing, but it is a hearing to establish whether Councilman Palermo will remain Vice President of the City Council or not. We'll first hear a presentation by Matt Kuzy from the Law Department. We'll then provide the opportunity for a presentation by Councilman Palermo or a representative. It's our understanding that there's not a representative today, but we will provide that opportunity at that point. And after that, there'll be questions from the council if there are any, and then following that, there'll be a motion. Mr. Kuzy, you're recognized.
Matt Kuzy, City of Omaha Law Department with Bernard Indenbosch, also with the Law Department, pursuant to a resolution that the council passed last week. The Law Department is going to offer the following items into the record for the council to consider with regards to the vice president status that Councilmember Palermo currently holds. Council President Festerson is correct. Mr. Indenbosch had contact with Mr. Palermo's attorney yesterday, who indicated that neither he or Mr. Palermo would be appearing today for this hearing. So for purposes of this hearing, the Law Department is going to offer to the council for its consideration what I've marked and have given to the clerk as Exhibit Number 1. Exhibit Number 1 is Article 2, dealing with the council and legislation in its entirety from the Home Rule Charter of the City of Omaha. Next, we'll be offering Exhibit Number 2, which is the resolution that the council passed last week regarding this process to conduct this hearing. Next, we'll be offering Exhibit Number 3, which is the indictment entitled The United States of America versus Vincent J. Palermo. The indictment indicates what charges the grand jury in the United States District Court for the District of Nebraska filed against Mr. Palermo. Lastly, we'll be offering Exhibit Number 4, which is the United States of America versus Vincent Palermo. It is a detention order signed by Magistrate Judge Cheryl Zwart on April 28, 2023, indicating the court's decision to keep Councilmember Palermo in detention. We're offering those 4 exhibits as evidence to the council to consider for the position that, given his current role as Vice President of the Council, these 4 documents indicate a legal basis and a factual basis why Councilmember Palermo can no longer serve in the capacity as Vice President of the City Council. That is all the evidence that the Law Department is going to present to the council.
Okay. Thank you. I'll now provide the opportunity for Councilman Palermo to appear or his legal representative. Let the record show that they are not in attendance. We'll now go to questions from the council. Ms. Johnson, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Matt, if you would please, I have a question. I understand the 4 items that you have before us to make this argument. My question to you is, has Mr. Palermo been tried? Has he gone to court at this time?
Matt Kuzy, City of Omaha Law Department. All of these 4 exhibits only indicate that he has been charged with a crime in the United States District Court and that he has been detained. Those are the only current legal documents pertaining to his case. There has been no trial or entry of a guilty or no contest plea.
Okay, then I'm going to stand on my argument as I did last week regarding the concern that was released in the World Herald on April 22nd and reported by, or statements made by the U.S. Attorney. The indictments were returned by the grand jury this week in Omaha, Nebraska. The indictments are comprised of multiple counts. Each count is merely an accusation, and all defendants are presumed innocent unless until proven guilty. So with that being said, as a member of Blacks in Government for 3 decades, I stand on fairness, equity, and due process. That's my very core, my very being. With that said, voting yes would be against my moral compass. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Harding, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll first start out by repeating some of what was said last week, that this is not a determination of guilt or innocence. And maybe Council Member Melton will expand on that like she did last week, but I'll also say that it's evident from the indictments that were handed out and the judge's ruling that Mr. Palermo will be detained for the foreseeable future and certainly past the point of time of the June 5th of 2023, which is when the term would end as his seat on the vice president of this council, that he's not going to be able to perform those duties. So I think it's incumbent upon us to take this action. I won't repeat everything that was said last week. I don't think it's needed at this point. So I know there might be others who want to weigh in, but at this point, I'll make the motion to approve the removal of Councilman Palermo as City Council Vice President based upon the evidence which shows that Councilman Palermo engaged in conduct unbecoming of his elected position as Vice President and an inability to attend meetings and serve as Vice President for the remainder of his term that ends on June 5th, 2023.
Thank you. There's a motion and a second. No further lights. Roll call.
Johnson.
No.
Melton. Rowe. Bagley.
Aye.
Harding. Mr. President.
Yes.
Motion passed 5-1. Non-action items, items 56 through 66, do not require public hearing or city council consideration at this meeting, but will be placed on a future agenda for public hearing and or vote. The reason for non-action is noted after the item on the agenda, as well as the date the item is expected to appear on the agenda for consideration.
Thank you. Is there a motion to adjourn? Roll call.
Johnson.
Yes.
Melton. Rowe. Bagley. Harding. Mr. President.
Yes.
Motion passed 6-0. Meeting is adjourned at 2:24.